Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited for today's video. It is going to be a bit of an extension to my palette week because in today's video we are talking about 10 palettes that I would grab first if my house was burning and I knew I was going to lose everything. And I'm so excited about this video because it was actually a recommendation or a question in the comments of one of my palette week videos, and I'm not sure if this person was just like looking for me to like answer in the comments, but I replied back and I was like, ooh, I'm gonna make a video on this because what a fun video concept. So it's kind of in the same vein as like a if I could only keep 10, but in my mind I'm thinking like I literally am going to like lose everything else palette wise in my collection, never be able to get them again. So I guess it is kind of like a if I could only keep 10, but I just thought it was such a fun twist because like, truly, if my house is burning, which 10 palettes would I grab? Like, what a fun question. Although, I really hope my house is never burning down and I actually run into this situation. So shout out to Becky for leaving this comment and giving me some video inspiration. I think it's so fun when you guys give me inspiration on either like looks I should create. Like in my Pan Those eyeshadows, I get so many recommendations of looks I could create, and I appreciate it so much because oftentimes I just get stuck in the rut of doing like the same thing every day. And then it's so fun when you guys give me video ideas because sometimes I get stuck in a rut of video ideas too, and I obviously want to also film what you guys want to see. So I'm really excited to be filming today's video. If you guys are interested, then stay tuned. First, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I hope you'll consider subscribing before you go. I do post a minimum of 4 videos a week, so if that's something that interests you, don't forget to hit the red subscribe button before moving on. And other than that, let's just jump into the video. So a couple things to get out of the way. Number one, I mixed my 2 least favorite foundations in my collection today, my Wander Beauty Nude Illusion as well as my Fenty Beauty like hydrating foundation, to see if they would balance each other out. And I gotta say, I kind of like the results. The only problem is right now I have like self-tan grossly wearing away on my neck, and this is like more of a full coverage look than I normally go for, and the foundation doesn't match the peeling off neck. Just ignore that. And then secondly, I'm like sitting super low. So I originally purchased this chair from Target, not realizing how low it sits. It was gonna be my computer chair, but it's like literally, you might not, it's a weird angle, so it might look like it would work for my desk, but realistically, like, do you see how low I'd be sitting? Not a good situation, but I wanted to be comfy today and just sit in my comfy chair, so I moved it over. So I clearly needed to explain to you guys that that was the situation happening today. So in the past, I have filmed a if I could only choose 10 eyeshadow palettes. I did not go back to rewatch that, and I don't know if my answers are similar, like I don't know if I have any overlapping or whatever. I truly can't even remember what I said in that video. I feel like I have some that are overlapping, but I feel like I have really good explanations as to why these would be the 10 eyeshadow palettes I would be saving from the fire. And it might be like a little bit different than like if I could only choose 10, because in the past when I did the if I could only choose 10, I was trying to think about like color stories and eyeshadow like palettes that weren't necessarily favorites that I would keep just because of wanting to have an array of color. And my explanations for some of these are a little bit different. Again, not necessarily all my favorite palettes, but for the most part they are. So let's just get right into it. So I have 3 palettes that I would keep because I love them and they are limited edition. And I think at least 2 of them I know you can no longer get. One of them I think you still can, but I'm not sure for how long. The one I believe you can still get is the Dose of Colors Desi Katy Friendcation palette. And first of all, I just think that this palette is incredibly unique, even though you might look into this and think it's just some neutral browns, a pink matte, and then you know your pops of color. But the textures of the shimmers and the shimmer formula is so unique and so special. I would absolutely not want to be without this palette, especially considering if we reach a point where you can no longer get it, I would 100% grab this if my house is burning down. And I've said this before, I think that this matte formula is one of the easiest in my collection to blend. These matte browns, for some reason, even though they just kind of look like your average matte brown, are like my perfect 3 matte brown shades, and I just absolutely love them. There is not one thing I would change about this palette. I love everything about it, from the packaging to the shadows to the formula inside. I need to always have this palette in my collection because I just love it so, so much. This is a very special palette to me and one that I would absolutely want to keep. You guys can probably already guess the other two palettes if you're not new to my channel. One of them is the BH Cosmetics Weekend Festival palette. This was limited edition and you can no longer get it anymore. And this has both, not like sentimental value, but it has some sort of like nostalgia to it. And then also I just think it's an incredible palette formula. I love the color story. I'm getting tons of color in this palette. So if I was thinking about wanting to keep, you know, a wide array of colors within my collection too, if I only had 10 eyeshadow palettes left, this would be a great one to keep. For an $18 eyeshadow palette, this was a great formula. This also has a nice mirror, and there are just so many shadows throughout this palette that I love throughout my collection. This Escape shade is a really beautiful warm brown kind of mid-toned shade that I absolutely love, and my favorite look to create in this palette. Am I wearing it right now? No. Earlier today I wore this palette when I filmed with a different look, but am I wearing this one? No. Oh boy. Okay. I lost my train of thought. I really love to create a look with this warm brown, darker brown, and then this boho shade is one of my absolute shades in my collection. It's this beautiful pink gold shade, and now that I think about it, it's probably more pink than gold, but this reminds me a little bit of the swatch that I saw Alex do of the Tarte Frosé Chrome Paint Pot. I really want to pick that up because it was this beautiful like pink and gold, just beautiful shimmery shade. And I just love reaching for this boho shade all year, but especially in the spring, summer. I feel like I really need that Tarte Chrome Paint Pot. But that boho shade I would not want to be without. For some reason, this is just a really special shade to my collection that I love having. I also love this shade right here, Trixie, for an inner corner highlight. One of my favorite inner corner highlighting shades throughout my collection. And the colors in here are very easy to work with, and even though they look intimidating because they are so vibrant, I have found that they are easy to work with. I also love this Solstice shade. This Carnival shade is pretty unique to my collection. It's this like denim silvery blue, and I really, really like this. I love to pair this with like a cooler tone matte brown and then do this all over the lid. I can even get away with that at work. So this is just a really special palette to my collection, and I have told this story before on my channel, but I used to be like a festy girl. That's actually how me and my husband sort of like came together, is we used to like go to shows together as friends, and then eventually we're not just friends. And festival themed things just have like a special place in my heart, just thinking back to the heyday, as we like to refer to it, but that time of my life. So this is definitely one of the ones that I would grab if my house was burning. And keep in mind, I would make sure my family was out of the house first, and then I would really quick run back in for my palettes. And then the third limited edition, can you guys guess it? Let me know if you guessed it correctly down below. It's the Master Palette by Mario. Woo! I do not want to be without this palette. Mine looks so janky. This Muse shade shattered on me, and then I had to repress it because I didn't want to be without that. And I have hit pan on a couple of these. Marina, you guys might not know that I hit pan on Marina yet, but I recently hit pan on Marina. And then Lula is one of my favorite cool toned brown shades in my collection. The closest dupe I would have to this would be out of my Sultry palette. And even though I feel like color story wise, this is a pretty dupeable palette these days, the formula of these shadows is just absolutely incredible, and I feel like I'm part of this like special society of people that own this coveted limited edition palette. A part of me like really wants them to just bring this back though, so I can buy like 5 backups, because I just love this palette. And even like the 2 like more colorful shades, which normally would like not intimidate me, but I just don't, you know, I don't play around with color all that much. except for I feel like I'm getting better about it. I just love these two shades as well because they're so easy to work with. Love this formula, love this palette. Look at, like, truly, look at how dirty this is. This is one I would need to keep with me in my collection. I have 2 more ABH palettes I would want to keep with me. I would run into my house, my burning house, to grab. Can you guys guess them? I feel like you can. It's the ABH Jackie and the Soft Glam. The Soft Glam was one of the last palettes I chose. I was going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on some palettes, but I did decide to keep Soft Glam. And the reason being is I just do truly love the color story, and looking through the other palettes that I decided to keep, even though I have some warm toned shades throughout, I don't have one just completely like warm tone palette, and that is what you're getting with this. And I truly do love every shade in this palette, and I feel like even though it's just like, you know, your average, not your average, but it's just like your warm toned color story, there are so many different things I can do with this palette and so many shades that are favorites throughout my collection. So I just would be too sad to not have this in my collection. So I would definitely grab for this. And then you guys know this is my favorite ABH palette too. It'd be tough, but I think, yes, even over the Master Palette by Mario. This is my favorite ABH palette. I love that it offers such a variety of colors. You get some warm browns, but you also get some like pinks and purples, and then you get some just really unique shimmers. Even the 2 like champagne shimmers are just very unique because of the payoff they give. Let me just swatch Zam. This is like me barely reaching in. It is so beautiful. Just such a beautiful shade. I love this one. I've been using Soleil this week to highlight my inner corner, and I have been loving it for that. I think Soleil is a really beautiful color. Lituation is a really cool sort of like taupey purple shade. I feel like I've talked about this palette a lot in the last couple of weeks on my channel, just because I feel like this gets brought up in every video, even if I'm talking about skincare, because I love it so much. And then we all know Sponsored is just such a cool shade. I needed to make sure I had some unique green shades that I kept within my choices, because you guys know I just love green eyeshadow. So had to, I mean, I would have kept this one anyway, but it's nice that it has that unique green shade, Sponsored. So I would also keep these 2, so we're up to 5. All right, you guys know I also have a soft spot in my heart for the Huda Obsessions palettes. So obviously I was gonna at least grab one of those, and it had to be my Huda Smoky Obsessions palette. This is just such an easy palette for me to use, and I love this one. I do feel like I actually do prefer cool toned shadows if I really did think about it. I just always love the way cool toned shadows end up looking. Personally, I don't know if it's like because I have blue eyes, I truly don't know, but I love every look that I create with this palette, and I would be really sad not to have this. Even though this is probably a very dupeable palette as well, I just feel like I don't get the same effect from other similar palettes that I do from the Huda Smoky. So I would have to keep this one for sure, and then keeping in like the cool toned vein of things, I also would make sure that I grabbed my Persona Identity palette, and I think that this is just a very special palette. I was considering keeping both the Persona Identity 1 and 2, but I decided of the 2 I wanted to keep the number 1 because number 2 has a lot more color throughout it, but I felt like I had a good mix of color with some of the other palettes that I decided to keep. And this one is just very special in that it offers some beautiful like neutral to cool tone browns that I feel like, again, I don't have a ton of in my collection. And then these shimmers are just outstanding in this palette. They offer such a foiled high impact effect on the eyes with a dry brush. You do not need to wet your brush, and you are going to get such a beautiful effect with the shimmers in this palette. You also get a little bit, you also get your mirror in here, and I just think that this is a very underrated palette and one that I would definitely want to keep. And then I also decided I would keep both of my really large Natasha Denona palettes, partially because I spent so much money on them, but hear me out on both of these. So my Lila palette, I just would never want to be without. And I felt like with this one, it offered me some cooler toned mauves, and I felt like I didn't really have a ton of mauve tone shades. And even though some of these are more like brownie red, I don't know, sometimes I can get some mauve tones looks with this just because of some of the purple shimmers. Also, this offers a variety of texture that I find to be very unique throughout all of my eyeshadow palette collection, and some very unique kind of duochrome or trichrome or just very shifty shades that I absolutely love. This is truly one of my favorite palettes throughout my collection just because I love the dimension that a lot of these shades offer. I know that these are expensive, but it's just the texture and dimension is just unlike anything else, and I definitely would want to keep this one. And then I also opted to pick the Natasha Denona Gold as well. Reason being, I have tons of browns that I can use, and from a day-to-day basis, I'm usually going for a neutral brown look that I can wear to work. That is what I need in my collection. But this one also offers a couple of very unique shades that I love. One of them being this beautiful like green gold shade. Anytime I wear this shade, I always get compliments on it, and I love reaching into that one. And then you have this chunkier gold green shade as well that I just think is absolutely stunning. Look at the impact on that. Like, that is just such a freaking cool shade. So I knew having this in my collection of 10, this would probably be one that I would reach for a ton when I was creating day-to-day looks, just because again, you have your easy to use browns, but then I could also use this one to kind of amp up a look and have fun with some greens and some blues. So I definitely wanted to keep this one. Okay, you guys, that makes 9. Can you guys guess the 10th eyeshadow palette that I'm gonna say? I feel like there's a lot of you out there who probably can guess. I did not include my Pat McGrath 10-pan palette that cost $125. I decided not to go with that one because I kept my Natasha Denona ones. My 10th and final palette that I would have to grab for if my house was burning to the ground is the Huda Mercury Retrograde palette. Who guessed it right? I feel like there's many of you out there who knew that I was going to keep this one. First of all, it's me. I love to live my life in chaos. The more chaos, the better. That is my motto. The more chaos, the better. I thrive in chaos. Life is too short to be boring, in my opinion. So I love me some Mercury Retrograde all the time. This is what this palette looks like. And again, in this palette, you are just getting some really unique, fun textures, some dimensional shades, and just something that isn't your standard foiled eyeshadow, shimmer eyeshadow. The mattes in here perform really, really well, and again, I feel like this is where I can get some mauve tone looks when I'm really craving a mauve tone look. I wanted to make sure I had the option for mauves because I do really enjoy playing around with mauves and purples at times. This has some of my favorites, just unique shades throughout my collection. Ultraviolet, Nebula, Supermoon, Gold Glitch, just again, really, really unique shadows. Love the aesthetic of this entire palette, and I just could not be without my Huda Mercury Retrograde palette, which is not limited edition, you guys. I have misspoke about that. This is just like a Sephora exclusive to my knowledge, which makes me really happy. Even though this is a really expensive palette, I love it so much. And I definitely recommend it. I don't think you need it. Nobody needs anything. But if you're on the fence about this one, it's really, really good. All right, you guys, that is it for the 10 eyeshadow palettes I would race through my house and grab if my house was burning down. Thank you again to Becky for the amazing idea. Whether or not you meant for it to be a video idea, thank you for giving me a content idea that I could bring to life. If you guys have any other video recommendations, things that you would like to see, leave them down below for me. I hope that you are all staying healthy and well. And again, if there is anything I can do to bring you joy, entertainment, whatever, let me know what you want to see down below in the comments. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch today's video and supporting my channel. I really do appreciate it. And I will catch you guys in my next video. Bye.